Good evening to all our viewers. Welcome to the 8th episode of the Alberta First Pension Plan online town hall. Every second week, we present and discuss the benefits of an Alberta pension plan. My name is Kerry Lambert, host of the Chris and Kerry Show, and I'll be your host for this evening's town hall. Alberta First Pension Plan is a grassroots initiative of concerned Albertans who want to educate all Albertans on the benefit of an Alberta pension plan. Our goal is to collect 270,000 names and contact information. And once that is done, we will begin to collect signatures within a 90-day window and present it to our Alberta provincial government and initiate a referendum on an Alberta pension plan. And then you, Albertans, get to choose whether you want an Alberta pension plan or not. We are not affiliated with any political party or lobbyist group. We rely on donations and volunteers to get our message of an Alberta pension plan out to everybody. Please consider volunteering and donating. And you can find out more by going to our website here at albertafirstpension.ca. And likewise, if you want to send us an email, you can send it to info@albertafirstpension.ca. We'll turn that off right now. So tonight's topic is one of those things that we always talk about amongst ourselves, amongst our Alberta Pension Plan group. And so I thought I would bring it up as an actual webinar or a town hall because it's very important. And that is, what do we need to get this done? And in previous episodes, we've talked about the number that the federal government and the Alberta Pension Plan Investment Board is going to come back to Alberta with, which is the amount owed if Alberta decides to have its own pension plan, according to the LifeWorks report in August of 2023. And we're still waiting for that number. Thank you, feds. But the calculation is as high as $334 billion to a modest $150 to $180 billion. This is good for anyone in Alberta. And even if we didn't get any money back from the Canada Pension Plan, we'd still be better off since right now we over-contribute between $3 and $5 billion every year, which is more than enough to start and continue our own Alberta pension plan. So how do we get this information out there so everybody in Alberta can be educated about the benefits of an Alberta pension plan? Excuse me. I'll read that again. So how can we get this information out there so everybody in Alberta can be educated about the benefits of an Alberta pension plan? Our pension experts tonight are Tanner Naday, who is an economist, and Mitch Sylvester, who is head of the Alberta First Pension Plan Group. This is a live town hall, so we encourage you to ask questions and make comments throughout the presentation. Just put 3 question marks before your question, and so it'll be flagged. And please share, share, share. And now I will bring on Tanner and Mitch. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hi.
How are you guys doing out there?
Good.
Mitch, you're sitting in your car. What are you doing?
I'm getting ready to do a town hall tonight, the second cow town showdown for the UCP members that are running for board positions.
Okay.
And they're going to ask us to talk about the Alberta.
Oops, and then we lost Mitch. But yes, they're asking, going to be request. They had requested that Mitch come in and talk about the benefits of an Alberta pension plan to a group of people. And this is kind of what we've been doing throughout the province for the last, I've actually lost track of how many months have we, how long have we been doing this, Tanner?
It's been a long time.
It has been, at least since,
did we start in January? Yeah, January, February.
So it has been a long time. We've met lots of people out there in regards to doing these town halls, and not only doing the town halls. We just did an event last Friday, and that was in Lacombe. We seem to be having trouble with Mitch in Lacombe, and we were talking to people that were even doing their own town halls, if you want to call it that, in their living rooms and in retirement homes. And they're showing these videos. They're showing the information that we present on our website, which is amazing. So it's great that everyone's able to come up and basically present this how they want to present it. We've lost him. He'll come back. I'm sure he will come back. But the question for tonight is what I'm thinking in regards to is how do we need to get this done, and it's more in terms of how do we get 270,000 contact information. How do we do that? So the way that there's Mitch there, I'm going to bring him back on. We'll try this again, Mitch.
Sorry, guys, I lost you. My phone rang and I shut it off and everything went off.
It's okay. So all I was saying is that you're doing your own meeting. We've been doing meetings all the way since January or February. A lot of meetings, getting out there, getting the word out. People have kind of been ambassadors for us as well. They're presenting their own town halls, their own meetings in their own living rooms and retirement homes. But the big question for me is, how do we actually get 270,000 names and contact information with the limited resources that we have right now?
Well, if that's for me, that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
We're going to have to raise money to get this done. As little as $10 per person that's signed up will get us over the finish line. Literally, if we could get everybody that's signed up with us to give us $10, we'd get this over the finish line. We're talking about putting it on social media platforms, and that's working. We've been experimenting with that. That's working real well. If you add that on top of our town halls, that I think is going to be what it's actually going to take to get this done.
Yeah. So we talked last week, Tanner and I, about the requirements in order to actually get a referendum. And it was actually a bit of a surprise to us when we realized that we had initially started with 270,000, which was 10% of the voting electorate based upon numbers a couple of years ago. Now that number has actually grown. It's almost 3 million. So 10% of that is 300,000. We do need 300,000 people in order to initiate this referendum. We're sitting at about 10% of that. I'm going to say we're about 30,000. So we still have a long way to go. What are some of the tools that we are looking at in order to get that number? And likewise, before we even answer that question, is there a time deadline in order to get this done, Mitch?
Well, there is no time deadline. We can do it. We can initiate it whenever we choose. The other thing, what are the tools we're looking at? Well, we're going to go on Facebook. We're going to go on all different social platforms and try and get the word out that way. Our problem is we're missing a demographic. We're missing that 25 to 45-year-old. And they're on social media. They're busy. They're doing all that. We encourage the older people and parents that of these people to come to the meeting, and they share the message with the kids. But that's difficult. I think what we need to do is reach that group of people, and actually they're the group that's going to benefit the most from this. Literally. And
Tanner,
so go ahead.
Tanner, you identify in that age group.
Yes, it's true. I do.
What would you suggest that we do in order to get the word out to that demographic?
Well, I think sometimes it's a different medium. Those individuals who are my age don't necessarily attend the classical political events as our parents did or continue to do today. It's just a different manner of messaging, to be entirely honest. Most of the people I know my age spend a lot of time on their phones. They spend a lot of time online, and they like instantaneous information. They would prefer not to travel, 20 minutes to a destination, a physical destination, to listen to a speech when they can just have it on YouTube, record it on your phone. And so when Mitch was talking about not moving, but introducing social media advertisement and so on regarding this pension plan, I think that's a good strategy, because that is where that demographic lies. We tend to congregate in the online world. And so the more traffic we can create on the online world as a pension plan, I think the more successful it's going to be.
Yeah. And if any of our viewers are on social media, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, there's a few different platforms. As you're scrolling through, and if you live within Alberta, chances are you will eventually come across an Alberta First Pension Plan ad. I cannot believe how many times that I scroll through and I see it in front of my face. And I know, even just talking to a few other people, they see it, but they don't really recognize that that's what it is and how we're involved. But once I say to them that, oh yeah, that's what we're working on, it's like, oh, well, how do I sign up? Right. So it's almost that it's that in your face in social media, but we still need to be able to get that word out in other ways. And so one of the, I kind of jotted down, I'm a traditional media guy. I grew up with, before we even called it multimedia, I was doing multimedia. And so we were doing slideshows, we were doing video animation. We did PowerPoint presentations. If way back when, I'm really going to date myself. Prior to computers and we were able to do things on PowerPoint, we actually used a program that would actually output to 35 millimeter slides. And we would actually capture those on the back of a camera in this little process, kind of like a printer. We'd send those out. And then that would be what we would use for doing multimedia presentations. We would do that through IMAX. We do that through a bunch of different venues. But that was like pre-PowerPoint. So that just shows how old I am. But the point is that they would use that sort of technology to create things like billboards and use that same sort of idea for laying out newspapers and doing that sort of stuff. So again, as much as I love the instantaneous stuff of this, I still think that we do need a lot of print materials. We need some billboards. We need lawn signs. And dare I say, we also need some merch, right? I think if we had people walking around with Alberta First Pension Plan t-shirts or hats, people may say, what is all that about? Or at least be aware of it, or maybe even subconsciously unaware of it. And then when it does show up on their phone, then they would go, oh, I've seen that before. I wonder what that really is all about. So there's a lot of mediums out there that we still need to be able to crack and to do that in order to get the word out. And I'm really just going to paraphrase what Mitch was saying, was that in order to do that, we need money. We need donations. So if anybody has signed up right now, thank you for signing up. But that's just part one of many steps in order to get this done. The second part would be, how can you help us? How can you help us? And at this point, I'm thinking donations would be a great next step, because we've already talked a little bit about volunteers. I think we have over 400 volunteers right now. Yep. That are ready to go in terms of going out and getting signatures and working with us at meetings. That is absolutely amazing. And they're just chomping at the bit, and they're waiting for us to say, yes, we have 300,000 contact names and information. So Mitch, do you want to make any comments on any of that?
Yeah, I think if people just would help us out just a tiny little bit and give us like $15 to $20 a month for a little while, and we get enough of that, that would be fantastic. What our problem is that we have a lot of fixed expenses beside that. Just running our software program is $2,000 a month. So that's a fixed expense. When we go on the road, it's about $1,500 to $2,000 an event. Now, if we don't get enough donations to cover that, then we have to come up with the money. We figured it's probably going to cost us 20 to 30 cents a signature to get the signatures online, based on the fact that we have to buy advertising in order to get the word out. So all those are actual real costs. And, we're going to do an email program, and we need people in place to help us out to do these emails. That expense is not that great, probably $30, $40 a day, but still we have to pay it because all of us are very busy. Not that we're not just doing Alberta Pension. We're doing, in my case, Bill of Rights. I'm running a CA board, and that's just the political side of my life. I'm also in business. So I go to work most every day. So all of that combined makes it very hard for us. So for a real small amount of money by a lot of people would help us out a ton. And actually we could get it over the line. And if people would say to, what, our group says 30,000, $10 each gets us over the line and we'll be running on other projects by the time we get to the end of that.
Yeah. We've also gone through a marketing process in order to figure out if we were to do just social media, and getting and kind of all through anything, you name it, a telegram, like any sort of thing, it would work out to about 40 cents per contact or signature within Alberta. So if we wanted 300,000, then we would really, just that medium, we would require $120,000 in order to get those names.
And that's and the thing is that sounds like a lot, but it's not a whole bunch divided by 25 or 30,000 people.
Yes, yeah, that's true too.
You know, and basically we all do this for free. Like, you know, we're basically just covering costs at most. And in my case, no, we're not even covering costs. I'm just doing it, you know, out of the goodness of my heart for everybody else. But here's the thing. The upside to this is the benefits for Alberta and for you as an individual are real and tangible. Like if this comes through, you could be talking about $3,000 a year per senior, per Albertan senior. And if you're in the 20 to 50 category, by the time you get there, there's going to be an absolutely completely different pension plan that's going to be there and much improved over Canada Pension Plan. Because in my mind, really, that wouldn't be very hard to do.
No, that's true. So really, anybody that's donating, you could look at it as a very small investment in your future.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? And a very substantial return, like 1,000 to 1, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Tanner, any comments about that?
No, I think Mitch is absolutely right. You know, at the heart of it, the foundation of the strategy is the population, the voting base. Albertans have to be involved. They have to be actively involved if they want to see change in the province. If they want to see this so positive a change, which an Alberta Pension Plan would be, then it's incumbent upon us, who are, if not receiving pension now, might be receiving pension in the future, to actively take a role in ensuring it's the pension that we want. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The other thing I wanted to say, so let's just assume that we do get these donations, we do get the word out there, then like really the next step in terms of this is getting the contact names and signatures and getting people to sign them. My question to you, Mitch, is I know there's the UCP AGM that's coming up on November 1st and 2nd in Red Deer. And I just found out today that there's already 5,500 people registered. It's going to be the largest political rally or political party AGM, I guess, in Canadian history. My question to you is, do you know if the policy on the pension plan is going to be presented at that time during that meeting, or do you know?
Okay, so here's the deal. First of all, I want to give a great big thank you to people in my CA. I got 290 people registered for the AGM from my CA.
Wow.
Yeah, that is well. I'm really excited, and thanks to all of them for showing up and participating, because it's a 5-hour one-way drive, and for them to get into a vehicle or a bus and go 5 hours to vote for 2 hours and then come back another 5 hours is a big job. And right now we're leading the whole province in ticket sales. So going back to the other thing, I've had indication from the provincial board that they're going to give us a half an hour to present the Alberta pension at the AGM. Okay. It was a resolution that my board had put in originally, and they somehow backed us out of there based on a couple things, which we didn't chase down very much, because at that point we had so many other things that we were doing. But they decided to come back to us and say, look, we could present that. They're planning on presenting the Bill of Rights on the floor and then back to back with the Alberta pension, which would be really nice for us. And it would give us a big audience of 5,500 people, quite a few more than we're used to. But at any rate, it would be very good to be able to present it to that group of people and those people already are activated and already are moving, or they wouldn't be in the hall. And maybe we'd find a bunch of leaders there that would help us get this over the top.
Okay, that's great. So
let me finish. Sorry, Kerry, because this is an absolute slam dunk no-brainer. Like, there's absolutely no way we don't win this if we get this home. We're looking at $334 billion that we have the access to that we can bring back here. And people aren't moving at all or fast enough for my liking just to grab it and bring it home. just the interest on that alone would pay in 1 year, would probably pay at the rate that they're talking about, would pay our pension for our seniors for 5 years.
Yeah.
Just every year, just the interest on that. And never mind, and you wouldn't have to touch the principal. And in the meantime, in that 5 years, we'd have accumulated $45 billion more in contributions. So it's just an absolute no way that we can't win this.
Yeah.
And we just, it's just a matter of going out and doing it. And it shocks me that it's been as difficult as it is. We're making progress. We're signing people every day, and a 30,000 member group for most things is a big group.
Yeah.
But this is a grizzly bear we're wrestling with here. It's a big number.
Yeah. So here's another question too that I've seen online before. It says, if we have about 10,000, if we have about 10% of our contact info so far, so out of that 300,000, we have about 30,000, right? We still need to push through and get even more signatures. What would happen if we had, say, 100,000 people or 200,000 people? Would it be more of an uphill climb, or what's your take on what would happen after that?
My take is that I think we're going to reach critical mass at some point here, and I don't think it's going to have to be 100,000. I think once we get to 60, 70,000, which is basically double where we're at, then everybody get two, and we're basically there. Everybody get two, and bang, there we go. You do that twice, and we're over the number, and we're off and running. So I really don't think that. We've got, I think in the next couple of 3 months, with a little bit of help from you, meaning all of the audience, we could get that number, say by Christmas. I don't think it would be that hard to do, because we're getting an extremely high sign-up rate once people see it. Yeah,
that's true.
So
any
presentation out there is the problem.
Yeah, any presentation I've seen you or Tanner do on this, everyone is just, I hear the oohs and the ahs and the wows, because a lot of people just don't realize the scope of this and really how easy it would be in order to bring this back. Right. Obviously, we've had comments about, but you don't have the infrastructure yet. And my take on that is, well, just imagine what we're overpaying per year right now. In less than a year, we'd be able to set up all that infrastructure. We'd be able to have employees doing this. We'd be able to set up all the paperwork and everything that needs to be done in order to collect and redistribute the pension plan funds. So I don't think the argument that you don't have the infrastructure set up is sound at all. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. You throw money at a problem and it's going to go away. You can fix it.
Go ahead, Tanner.
Yeah, well, I actually, you're right. It's people often cite the lack of infrastructure as a danger with the pension plan or an uncertainty. I actually think this is a strength. Now, don't mistake me. I'm always in favor of less government. I think the smaller government is, the better. But this is a case in which I would be accepting of a new institution. And the reason I'd be accepting of it is because it would take away power from the federal government. In this case, it is preferable to have an Alberta institution over a centralized federal institution in its place. So what I mean to say is, if you had an Alberta pension plan, you would need some institution, some bureaucratic institution to collect the Alberta taxes, right? The Alberta contributions to then send them out to Alberta pensioners. Well, that's better than having the CPP do it, right? Because we can better scrutinize an Alberta institution that's here at home versus a CPP, which is literally thousands of kilometers away from us. So actually, far from being, a con of an Alberta pension plan, I think this change would be a strength, and a very great one at that.
Yeah.
And create work for Alberta people.
Yep.
Yeah,
we definitely.
And add to our economy.
Yeah. And again, to just get back to the initial conversation about the donations too, and people getting involved. I think one of the things that we've reached out to people about volunteering, and they're ready to go doing certain jobs, but there are tasks that we would really, really like to be able to have some expertise on. And like I said, in terms of media, if we had someone that could do more social media, maybe do website, maybe do TikTok videos to reach that demographic. We can never have enough volunteers in order to do that. So if anybody's watching and they have not stepped forward, but they do have some sort of a skill set, please get a hold of us. Again, you can just go to send us an email at info@albertafirstpension.ca, or even go onto the website. Of course, there's forms there, and you can link back to that. But I really do think that this has to be a group effort, and I know Mitch is doing an outstanding job, just networking and getting the word out to everybody in Alberta. I can't even imagine how many kilometers you've amassed on your vehicles over the last year for sure. Never mind everything else that you do in terms of your own CA, and so that's amazing. And I know the same with Tanner. I mean, Tanner's been all over the place as well, and we wouldn't be able to do this without you guys.
Well, you know what I think, honestly, I can't imagine what we could do if we had any money. Because we've basically run this whole thing for the last 5, 6, 7 months on $20,000
That's right.
in donations, and out of that, at least 60% of it went to pay for our Nation Builder website.
Yeah.
So, in actual fact, if we actually had money to pitch at social media, or or people to help us do certain things, and the beauty of it is that. This is a finite thing. Like, once we get there, it's done. If we could get people to commit to $10, $15, $20 a month for 3-4 months on our website, so that we could look forward to having a fixed amount of money, I think we could really, really do something. Yeah. What we're missing, and what I'm seeing as a political organizer and all that kind of stuff, is I'm seeing why the elites and all those people actually control things. Because to get money from one place is so much easier to do than try to collect from a large group of people. Mm-hmm. However, if we're going to run grassroots politics, we have to get used to the idea that we're all going to have to contribute some money in order to get that done, or else we have to sacrifice the fact that we have no voice. Because those people that give the money to all these political things are not doing it for free. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we want to advance the grassroots, the best way and the only way to advance the grassroots is we have to give a certain amount of money, a stipend, whatever you decide that could be, monthly. And if I might make a comment, we're very proficient at getting things done. We've accomplished a ton of stuff. Yeah. Like, started by firing Jason Kenney, started by going and putting people on the provincial board. We've banned tabulators. The event I'm at, we've got people that are running for positions on the provincial board. We started that last year. That never happened before. There's so much that we've done. And we just talked about getting 5,400 people to an AGM. Well, that's us too. Yeah. That's us. Like, I mean, we're getting people involved in their politics all over the place. Mm-hmm. And we're doing great big things. And if we get this Bill of Rights and this Alberta pension, those are going to be the two biggest things that will probably landed up to now. Yeah. And all that we're missing is participation from our people and a minimal amount of donation. The other thing that we have to combat, and this is not an accident, is that when the federal government closed bank accounts down, they totally understood what they were doing. They basically stopped our money flow because people are scared to give money, and people are scared to donate online because they're on a list. And if they're on a list, well, then it's a bad deal. And so, unfortunately, we're standing in front of live audiences every night and doing what we need to do and dealing with nasty people on multiple occasions. And we're doing it just because we want to win this and get everybody in Alberta a much better pension and literally make everybody better off and make Alberta a freer place. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. And, being in front of people is great. This is great too, in order to at least share ideas, but it's a completely different setup when you're at a meeting, because you're talking to people before the meeting, you're listening to the conversation during the meeting, and then after the meeting, you're talking again to the people around you. And it's and it's a wonderful experience. If people have not been out to any sort of political meeting at all, and I really stress that Alberta First Pension is not a political group, but it's the next closest thing that I can think of in terms of getting out there with a few hundred people and listening and trying to better where we are in our own province, for sure. We do have a couple of questions, so I'm going to be posting the questions. If anybody does have questions, please put 3 question marks before your question, so it'll be flagged and I can see it right away. Our good friend Bonnie says, do you know yet when the Alberta Pension Plan presentation will be at the AGM?
No, it hasn't been decided. Okay. Apparently they have a meeting tomorrow night and we should know more by the end of the week.
Okay, excellent, good. Next question is, and we have covered a lot of these already in previous episodes, but for anybody that hasn't done catch up yet, Michael asked, will the Alberta Pension Plan pay me as much or more than the CPP?
Good question. It's a very good question. I might begin answering by very respectfully telling Michael, to be honest, that's not a very high bar to pass. When you look at what the CPP pays seniors right now, it isn't much, right? On average, it's what, $750 some a month? That's it.
Yeah.
After all of their years of contribution and how much they contributed over their working life, that is a very, very anemic return. It's an anemic rate of return considering what that money could have been put towards. Now, as to the actual answer to the gentleman's question, yes, the APP must pay at least as much, or it must send out at least as much money to seniors or more. It has to, according to the Canadian Pension Plan Act, provide a plan that is practically identical. So if an APP would decrease the amount of money going to seniors, not only would it be political devastation for whatever party was in power at the time of the APP's enactment, but it also wouldn't be allowable under the CPP Act. No, rather it has to be for seniors at least as much money every month, if not more. It's a good question.
Yeah. Our good friend Craig asks, so are you working with other groups? Would love to have someone speak to the PGIB. I believe that's Craig's group there as well. I'm sorry, I don't know the actual acronym right now, but are we working with other groups, and is it possible to have someone come out and speak at another event? I guess that's what we'll say.
Well, I would say yes. We'll work with anybody that wants to have us.
Yeah.
We haven't turned down anybody that's asked us to come. We would like to talk to 100 people or more, though. We're at the stage right now where we've done, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 town halls. So it would be really good for us to guarantee 100 people. And then other than that, I don't see a problem. Now, if you want to do smaller groups, well, that's fine. We can reach out to people. We're actually training people to do in-house stuff and all that kind of stuff, and that would be magnificent if they would do that. So actually we would accommodate you pretty much basically whatever you want to do.
So Craig, just reach out to us at info@albertafirstpension.ca and we can set that up. And to further on that, we're basically doing a train the trainer process. So we've got some forms, and they are doing Zoom meetings with the volunteers to basically get a cohesive message to everyone involved, and also educating the speakers on being able to answer any questions that may come up. Now, there's probably a handful of questions that maybe we have not addressed fully within even this video series. They would probably be very, very, very narrow focused, I guess. It might be, well, in my case, this is my situation and I've moved from here and this is what's happened to my family. Those questions are difficult to answer, but I mean, we can probably at least steer you in the right direction. But for the most part, just in terms of getting the pension plan into Alberta, I think we've presented it fairly well over the last couple of months that we've been doing these.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. And here's another one. Diane says, I'm from Ontario, and do you know if anyone here is doing the same thing
As what?
as the Alberta First Pension Plan group.
Oh, no.
There have
Not
been
aware.
videos out there that I've seen in which they actually talk about if Alberta takes away their amount that's owed to them, and if Ontario takes away the amount that's owed to them, there wouldn't be anything left. That's basically what it is. And again, it comes down to, that was how it was originally written up in 1966, saying that if you as a province contributed into the pension plan, if at any time you decided to get out, then we would pay you back. And I think the initial plan for that was probably if you decided within the first year or two that your province wasn't, happy with the way it was going to be done. But that rule, that legislation has not changed since then. And it's never been even addressed. So if you look at it from the way the law is written, that's where we come up with the LifeWorks report number of $334 billion, because that's what we've put into it, minus the expenses and stuff brought back to the people in Alberta and in terms of pension. But if you can imagine, if we've definitely over contributed between $3 and $5 billion every year since 1966, it wouldn't take much to figure out that number, that's what it is, $334 billion. And so, yeah, just to get back to that question, is anybody there doing the same? Not as far as we know. There's no reason why, Diane, you couldn't start something like this. Or even just, put the question out to your, they don't call them MLAs out there. What are they? MPPs, I think is what they're called out there, members of political parliament or something. So, just reach out to your elected representative and ask the same question. And there's no reason why all the provinces couldn't be doing this. Right? So, next question here. Elaine asks, are these town hall meetings archived and available through resources at the public library? Interesting question. I'd never even considered putting it at the public library, but if you go on the website anyways, I think we all know what it is, albertafirstpension.ca. If you go under the videos, it might take a second for this to load in. These are all the videos. They're all streamed directly through Rumble. There's a lot of information in here, and eventually I will do some sort of a summary with what we're talking about, what the topic is, what questions were asked. We also have other stuff in here, other videos that have that Tanner and Nicole or anybody else in the Alberta First Pension Plan group have been on. Some other little clips that we've done through the Alberta Prosperity Project. So there's a lot of information, and essentially that's what the people that I was talking to in the retirement homes and doing the presentations, that's what the information is. They're basically calling up a laptop and then showing the presentations as we're doing it right now. So if you are watching it and you're in a retirement home or some other community hall type of situation, hello, and thank you so much for watching. There you go. So yeah, there's always information, and our plan is to do 10 of these. So we have 2 more, and wrapping up. It was kind of by design to wrap up before the UCP AGM on November 1st. And so that's still the plan. But if it makes sense, if what we were hoping is that somewhere along this line, we would have got a number from the federal government and we would have had an episode on what that actually meant.
Well,
and even as
they're actually talking about end of October is when their next projected
end of October
date is.
Well, then we
might have it before the AGM.
We may do an 11th or a 12th episode for sure. So
that's why that would be for sure.
I've never even said that it's 8 of 10 or anything like that, because we just don't know, right? But there's always stuff to be talking about in terms of this, and I think this kind of accomplished what I wanted to do in terms of. We need donations. We need donations for media, for advertising, website, email, social media, meetings, fundraiser, print material, billboards, lawn signs, merch. That's all I had right now. But there's a lot. we need to get the word out, and all of those are great mediums in order to do that. So, I kind of figured this was going to be a shorter episode, but if there's any other questions, please just put them in the comments. Otherwise, if Tanner or Mitch, do you want to have any last words of this episode?
No, I'm good, Tanner.
Yeah.
No, except as has been mentioned, keep pushing. Don't stop.
Yeah.
That's really the sentiment. Don't stop.
Yeah. So, and again, Elaine says that this is perfectly valid. Please be aware that not everyone will make the effort to get to this website and access the resources. Not all seniors are on the internet. My dad is totally, he's got a flip phone and he doesn't even know how to operate that. So many don't trust the World Wide Web. And I totally agree. And that's why I think if we ended up doing, once we kind of get to a certain threshold and we say we're doing newspapers, we want to get editorial articles out there so that, and whether or not the newspapers will even take it. If it was an op-ed, I would imagine they probably would. But to do that information out there would certainly help getting the word out to people that are not digitally and inclined and on the web. So,
and
thank you very much.
Yeah. And honestly, can I add to that, Kerry? We'd be happy to go talk to seniors all over the province.
Yes.
If they want to talk to us, we're good with doing senior homes and all the rest of that. We've done many already. And we're good to do more, and we will get people there if it's required.
Yeah. Sherry Lynn asks, is this why Quebec is wanting more pension money?
Well,
no.
It's a good question. Quebec has their own pension. They have from the start. They have their own QPP. And so it isn't particularly correlated with the CPP. Now, the numbers are a bit different with the QPP, but the principle of its operation is the same as the CPP. It's actually a proof that a province can be very successful with its own pension plan. And so if Quebec can do it, why not Alberta?
Yeah. Yeah. And we've touched on this on other episodes. Quebec has their own plan. And a lot of people assumed that they were all part of a CPP at some point, and Quebec broke off. And that's, again, we've addressed that in previous episodes. It's not the way it happened. Quebec started at the same time, and we basically just went this way, right? So, and that is, unless I'm totally mistaken, but no, that's what I'm sure. So probably Vicky at Alberta First Pension says they want more old age security. That's what it is in terms of that. They don't want any more pension because, of course, it's their own QPP. That's exactly what it is. Thank you.
That will apply to the rest of us too.
Oh yes, absolutely would. You would think
it's for the whole country that they're asking for this.
Yeah,
not just Quebec.
That's right. And you're allowed to get your pension at 65, and they recommend you hold off until you're 90.
Yeah.
So they don't have to give it to you. I've seen on the website it's 60, 65, and 70 are kind of the timelines that people are most looking at. And I think that's valid, but at old age security does kick in at 65, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 65 yet, so I don't really know. And Elaine asks one more, what role do you see volunteers across the province doing?
Well, that's interesting. That's a good question because we deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
Helping us organize meetings, getting people to sign up, helping us raise money, all the stuff that we do, basically. Talk to people, and watch, and hopefully, if we get enough of them working, watch the number grow and get fired up about it and work harder.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, whatever skill set that people can, and whatever time is available. Yeah. And so maybe I'll ruffle a few feathers with this statement, but I've talked to a lot of people that say, I'm willing to help. I'm willing to do whatever it is, as long as it works in my schedule. So here's the thing. It will never work in your schedule. We all have busy lives. We're not sitting around doing nothing. And I know the viewers that are watching are also not sitting around and doing nothing. But it takes a certain little bit of requirement that you realize that this is a priority and you should make it a priority, and that you should take that initiative and get out there and do some volunteering somehow. And because no matter what, there's always going to be a hockey game on. There's always going to be something to do. There's always yard work to do. I'm embarrassed to show my yard right now because I've not had a chance to even look at it in the last month. But there's always something to do, and it's a matter of setting priorities and saying, this for me is a priority. And to me, it's always been a finite amount of time that we could get this done. So I kind of gave myself initially until the UCP AGM, knowing full well that it'll probably extend past that. And I'm okay with that, right? But it's one of those things that if I have to pass the baton on to someone else at some point because I need to be doing something else, then so be it. And but I think if it's a priority for people, if you make it a priority, then this will get done. I think that's all I want to say. Yeah. Just a couple more quick comments here. Bonnie says, I'd like to see people get creative and make their own signs for their yards or fields. For example, signs on fences by major roads and on round bales, etc. That's a great idea. It would be nice to be able to make the this sign. Oh, is that French? No, that's in English. It would be nice if we had an opposite of this, right? Hands on our APP or something to that effect. I haven't come up with anything smart. So,
well, I tell you what. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yes.
Let's talk about Mark Carney.
Okay.
What is he? 2 months in? 2 months in as an unelected official, and he's talking about transferring $50 billion out of the Canada Pension Fund to his own company to manage.
Yeah.
So even at 5%, at 1%, that's going to give him, I don't know, what's that, $500 million a year management fee for that amount of money.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And they're talking about these guys have got their hands all over their pension, and that's the number one objection that we get. So I just thought I'd mention that now that sign came up, because I just can't believe, really, honestly, I can't believe they're doing that based on the fact that what they're saying is keep your hands off our pension. In the meantime, they're grabbing it 50 billion at a time and moving it around. Like it's incredible. It's actually incredible. Well, not to me. I understand now what the game is, but absolutely, there it is. It's like they don't care. Yeah. It's like they don't care what we think, and it's like they're snubbing their nose. Just saying, you know what, we're doing our own thing, regardless of what the right thing or the wrong thing to do is. And that's the other part of this. If you're getting tired of that nonsense that's going on in Ottawa, let's take $335 billion and bring it home. Yeah, that will hurt them. That will make them unhappy. I promise you that will. And Tanner, going back to his comment, we can manage it better here. Absolutely no question. And once we have it here, we actually have a real tangible asset. I don't even know if that asset exists over there. And right now, it's of no benefit to Alberta. None. That's right. Yeah. And like Tanner says, at arm's length from the government. Yes, 100%. Right. And that's up to us again. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Elaine asked, I hope there's a structured and organized plan of attack for volunteers to work with. And before I even answer that, I'm just going to show that, yes, Vicky from the Alberta First Pension Plan said, yes, we hold regular volunteer meetings. We assign roles and give options for way volunteers can contribute. We're developing volunteer leads across the province to help manage the workload. So that's awesome. So if anybody did have that sort of question, that is the answer. And if you want to, again, I'm just going to show that one more time just because I have that ability. Get a hold of us at info@albertafirstpension.ca. Say that you'd like to volunteer or get involved, and we will gladly return the email and get you involved, however it would make sense. And likewise, I'm going to say this one more time because I'm pretty sure everybody that has watched these series of videos, go to the website. And if you've already done this, then get your neighbors to do it, your family, your friends. Go to the Alberta First Pension Plan, go on, sign up now and sign up for the referendum. And that's that. It's really easy. There's first name, last name, email, blah, blah, blah.
And even here it asks if you want to volunteer, just click on I want to volunteer, and that will get to us as well. So I'm not sure if Mitch disappeared or not, but maybe yes. That's okay. I think we've covered what we want to. I'd like to thank Mitch and Tanner, of course, for coming on and having the discussion. We do this every 2 weeks, so two Tuesdays from now, two Tuesdays from now, we will be back on answering more questions and talking a little bit more. I've got a few videos that I actually want to show, and we're going to do a little bit of a critique on some of the comments, because I think a lot of that misinformation out there, or at least maybe it's not misinformation, it's just information that even they don't understand when they're talking. So I think that'll be a very good an episode to be able to do. So I think that's great. And look at this. Sherry even says, I printed off info from the site and be handing out flyers out in Grand Prairie everywhere I go. Thank you, Sherry Lynn. That is amazing, and that's exactly what we want people to do. If you can take your initiative, use the stuff on the website. Please don't make up your own forms, and if at all possible, I think you can certainly make a sign if you want to, but we don't want any misinformation or numbers that maybe don't reflect what's on our website as well. So with that, I will say good night. You guys have an amazing week, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks there, Tanner and Mitch. Thanks. Good night.